welcome back to the channel. My name is Rose. I want to get on here real quick to talk about this weird thought that I've been kind of dealing with for a long time, but more specifically, more targeted over this past year or so. If you've been watching my channel, if you've seen any of my older videos, you know that I dealt a lot with social anxiety for basically my whole life, and I've recently really gotten past it, and it's been pretty intense. The journey has been very intense, and I wanted to talk about this weird realization that I've had. Alright, to give you some background on where I'm coming from, I was socially anxious that instead of actually having like a human connection with anybody, I would read books. I read a lot of books. And one of the subjects I was really interested in was religion. And so I don't consider myself a religious person, but I do like to read about religion because I like to see the kind of the origins of human thought. I find it interesting how we got to where we are right now through, I don't want to call it mythology, but through religion and through stories. And I've always found that really interesting. And I also find it really interesting just the inner workings of how we think. And so I read a bit about psychology, and I also like to read, I guess I've read a bit about mysticism as well, and not because I'm trying to be like some sort of mystical person, but because I think it's interesting that that's another path that a person could go down, where like instead of being religious, you believe in mysticism and the like. So I found both of those, all those subjects really interesting. I also read a lot about history, and I like to read about successful people because I'm interested in how those successful people think. So I like to read a lot of biographies. I also like to read a lot of memoirs, autobiographies, things like that. I got hair in my mouth. Anyway, so these are the type of things that I'm interested in. I read a lot of fiction. I like to understand how people think. Now, for the last 3 or so years, I've been really intensely reading more than I ever have before in my life. Like, I read over 100 books one year. I read like 75 another year. I try to read at least one book a week. For the last like 6 months, I haven't been doing that because I've been like really depressed, and for a lot of reasons. And one of the things that makes me somewhat depressed is reading about how people think. Because some people are really messed up. Some people do really messed up things to other people. And so, having dealt with like the social anxiety issues that I've dealt with, I have ended up learning more about how other people think than I really should have. And I keep having this persistent thought, and I just want to like make a connection here to see if anyone else can see it. So you have Narcissus, right? So this is Narcissus, and he is this guy from, I think it's Greek mythology, and he basically dies because he stares at himself in the mirror so long that he like fucking dies. He doesn't eat or drink or anything like that. He's like, oh, I'm so beautiful, and he stares at himself until he dies. There's more to the story, but that's kind of like the basic gist of it. And it's the origin of the word narcissism. So his name was Narcissus, and you can go look that up on your own, but he's the origin of the word narcissism. Now, I keep thinking that if you have humanity and you have like an original concept, like an original spark. So say you have the Big Bang, and you can believe however you want, however that happened, I don't want to go into that, but you have the original thing, right? And then from that, all other things are outcroppings of that, right? You also have, everything down to, the fractal all the way up to the, universe. So where am I going with this? in the scope of all things, when we look at the way that humanity thinks, you have things like the Enneagram, right? And it would be like the idea that there's only a few personality types. I think there's like 16 that they really pinpoint, where you're like usually one of, or like the NJFT, JFL, whatever, you have like the 4 letters that describe your personality. There's like a certain amount of ways that we think, right? We usually fit into some sort of like, there are other people that think similarly to us, however they haven't had the same experiences that we have, so there are different perspectives that we can see the world through. And I keep thinking of it like a shattered glass. Like if you have an original piece and you break it, and then you keep breaking those pieces, and you keep breaking those pieces, and I feel like that's almost what human consciousness is. It's like there was an original thought, and we just keep breaking into more and more pieces and considering the original question through our own, 1/1000th of a perspective. But also there's a whole portion of the entire scope of humanity who is also kind of looking at the question from the exact same perspective as you. And so I think for me, for a while, I thought that like all people had this similar idea of like what we were looking at, what we were thinking, all this kind of stuff. And then I started reading, and the depths of just inhumanity that I've read about, that just, it like brings me to tears. I'm like, how the hell could anybody do the type of things that people have done to each other and still consider the world in any type of way similar to what I believe? And then you hear people argue their points, and you're like, if you watch like a debate or something, you'll see someone take a completely logical perspective, and that you give them enough time and they can argue it from their perspective in a way that almost makes it seem logical. And it's like, how can two people look at the exact same issue and come with like so vastly different conclusions? And it's weird to me because it's almost like all of these glass pieces are now looking back into their own reflection, because now we have social media, right? And so now, if you see anyone who's on camera, a lot of times what they're doing is staring at their own reflection. And it's like you're talking to yourself in like the exact representation of that, original narcissist, that original story. We're all sitting here looking at, like, if you see people on the news, it really disturbs me. I don't know if it's just me or other people see it, but it really disturbs me, because I'll watch people on the news and like they're, blah, 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 and they're saying their point, and then you see them, they're like looking over the mirror, just make sure that my hair is perfect, and I have to make sure that my makeup is perfect. And like, it's like, I keep thinking, if the original idea was that we have to find some sort of monumental answer to some monumental question, and what we're doing is staring at this one fractal piece of this one fractal consciousness, trying to make sure that what is on the outside of what everyone sees is beautiful. Doesn't matter how like fake it is. But if you're what you're always focusing on is, and this is what I keep seeing everywhere I look, it's like, if you have this original question, you're searching for answers, you're trying to, what I thought people were doing was trying to be a good person, and what you're doing instead is just dressing up the outside vessel, and you're not doing anything about the inside of this vessel, and you're not answering, like, how should I put this? I'm having trouble explaining exactly what I want to say, but when I look at the vast scope of humanity and I ask myself, like, why are we here? I assume that it has something to do with whatever has been going on in our mind from the very beginning. Like, there has to be some sort of collective ancient consciousness that we're all an outcropping of. And you see this in a lot of weird meditative studies, and I can go over that I've read in the future, but because I think that deserves its own video. But I think we're missing the point. I find it really frustrating because I keep looking around. I keep thinking back to if you've ever heard the phrase, I don't want to, you can put a bow on a bag of poo and it's still a bag of poo. Like, you can dress it up, but what's on the inside actually, it's still just crap, right? And I keep thinking, when I look at people, like, especially on TV, say I'm watching like a music video and I'm looking at a person, I'm like, your hair is fake, you're wearing spray tan, you're covered in makeup, all of your clothes are fake, like, your personality is fake, this is auto-tuned, it's just so fake. And it's like putting a bow on a bag of crap. It's like, this person is vapid on the inside, they're searching for nothing relevant to humanity, and we're all just like, I don't know, wasting time. And I find it really frustrating. And maybe that's just like, I think it's just a lack of discipline and an overabundance of convenience and an overabundance of entertainment. And like, if we're all sitting around staring at our phones and we're constantly listening to things, and like, like me, I'm sitting around listening to books all day long, which is great, I guess, but like, I'm working in a garden, I'm not listening to birds and like, the sounds of nature, and I probably should be. I should be connecting more with the earth, but I don't know. I feel like we're all missing the point, and I really wanted to get that off my chest so I could stop thinking about it, because that seems to be the way it works with me. Like, I want to make a video, but I don't want to like say it, and then like everyone's gonna like hate me for it, and I think that's still the whole like fear of judgment type of thing. But I think with the internet, you kind of just have to get over that, because there's so many judgy people. See like the nicest video and everybody underneath it's like, oh, screw this person. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. That's a thought that I've been trying to get off my chest for a long time and don't know really how to put it. So maybe my question is, do you guys have any thoughts? Am I just crazy? Because I try to talk to my therapist about this, and she's just like, you need to just accept things. And I'm like, I do. I mean, like, I accept that we're not all on some sort of like spiritual path or anything like that, and we're definitely not all in the same spot in our lives or on any path. But I think that if your entire society is basing itself around materialism and entertainment and convenience, then what the fuck are we doing here? Like, how do you grow, mentally speaking, if you're basing your life around convenience? Because it is known, I was watching maybe I'm wrong, I'm not a neurologist or anything like that, neuroscientist, it's people that study brain, but they were saying that if you do a task that is beneficial that you don't want to do, so say you do you go do some cardio, you really don't want to do it, there's a portion of your brain that is activated because you're actually forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do. And it's how you grow discipline. It's how we naturally grow discipline. And so if we're all sitting around being conveniently taken care of all the time and we don't do anything difficult, we're just calcifying. And I think that when you watch these people, when we look up to these people who have all the conveniences in the world, and we act like they're better than us, and it's so incorrect. It's so not correct. If you have everything that you want and everyone's doing everything for you and there's no difficult thing for you to actually accomplish, then you're probably not a good soul for other people to follow. So anyway, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Yeah, bye.